Hello everyone, this is Tim with another KTaNE tutorial about making interactive manuals. Today we are going to tackle Twister. Had this requested a little while ago. First thing we're going to need is to look at the original manual, Steam, and the source code. Steam, just to remind ourselves what this looks like, to get a good visual on it. I've done this module once, and I have the instructions that someone gave me on what they wanted for the interactive. They wanted to be able to place hands and feet of two different colors on this grid of dots here. I'll probably make the grid bigger and put it on the next page, maybe. We'll see. So the source code, we can go digging around and try and find some things that we need. So this manual is a boss. Every time a module is solved, there's another spin that you have to do, or you can queue them up and spin it a whole bunch of times later on. So, and then you have to keep track of where the player 1 hands and feet go and where the player 2 hands and feet go. There's both left and right hands and left and right feet. So we're going to need basically 8 unique like SVG objects to background, like object backgrounds to put on these circles. So you need the left and right hand, the left and right foot, and then the same thing for the player 2. So that's 8. We might be able to get away with defining only a few of them in code, but it's not that big of a deal if we have to define more than that. I mean, we might just make the files actually SVG files instead of defining the code for it in the HTML document. So, taking a look at the source code for the module, I believe I found it earlier in textures. Yes, so we have this. It's a very large version of the mat. We can always shrink this if we need to, but that is the that is the mat. But I don't think we're gonna end up downloading this. These are so simple to make with an SVG. With SVG code, it's, we're just gonna make it. That's one circle with a particular stroke and a fill. That's a single SVG object, and then we can write some code that will generate the rest of them for us in the correct positions. What I might do is have a grid like this where, so here, let me just get a few of these active. So if we pretend that these are like left and right hands, so you're gonna want to do something like this on this grid of circles on the thing that we're trying to make. So, this could be like a left hand, this could be a right hand, left foot and right foot, and then like player one's left hand, things like that. You're going to need to place them where you want them. You're going to want to like unplace them and override one that's currently in a spot. So anyway, I'm thinking of making it a grid like this, but with circles in the background instead of white squares. And then we'll be able to place SVG images in the squares or on the circles without the circles going away, because the circles will be an SVG also, but we can have two divs stacked on top of each other. Yeah, and I'll show you what that's all about later. So I think that's a pretty good place to get started. We already have the code from this manual that generates a grid like this of interactable things. So we might as well use that as a base. And they already have like click events and everything. It's got quite a bit more things going on with it that we won't need from that code. But so let's see. The first thing we're going to need to do. Oh, and we're going to need the hands too. So these we're going to generate, and then this this one is the face. Yeah. So this is a kind of a pixely PNG. This isn't an SVG, otherwise I would just be able to extract the hands and feet from the SVG, but that's okay. We'll drop this image in Inkscape and we'll trace around them pretty easy and make these shapes in scalable vector form. It'll be very easy. These are very simple shapes, and then we'll have them either as files or we'll just have the SVG code that defines those curves for later. So we can do that in a minute. Let's get started on duplicating the original and call it Twister Interactive. And we will open that. And here we go. So I think I'm going to want a new page that has the grid on it. I'm not so sure about that right now. Yeah, because I'm gonna want some tools and stuff on the sides to be able to select which hands and feet we're gonna be placing. So I might as well make this a little larger and then just have the tools right below, maybe to the right side. I'm thinking below. Yeah, along the side might be better actually though. So anyway, we're gonna need a second page. By the way, this section class defines which things end up next to each other in side-by-side mode. So I can show you what that's all about in a second here. So if we, oops, that's not what I wanted. I will go ahead and refresh my KTaNE web thing here. Once again, this is a local copy of the program that runs the website. This repository website. It makes it a little easier for me personally to run it locally because I can tell already that it's going to work out the way I wanted. There it is. It's there. So, and it'll show up there when it's actually on the real website eventually. So it's nice. So here we go. Here's our new manual. It has 2 pages, as you can see. The second page is blank, and the second page is side by side with this one. And so what I was saying is that the section class of div defines all the things in it can be side by side when you do this side by side mode. So if we add another page, for example, just a little extra info for you guys. We add an extra page and then we zoom out a little bit. There we go. We've got 3 pages next to each other. Now, normally you don't ever need 3 next to each other because everything becomes too small for you to really see what you're doing. But yeah, some cases you would. But if we were to break the section into let's say right here, we close that div. So this we just closed the section div, and let's put another one here. So now these 2 pages are in a section, and this first page is in a section on its own. And if we refresh, there we go. It's no longer allowing, it's grouping these 2 pages together in side-by-side mode, but not this one. No matter how far we zoom out, this page will never be side-by-side with these because it's in a different section. So that's what the section tag does. It allows you to say, hey, I want these particular pages grouped together in side-by-side mode. But we don't need a third page, and we also don't need the section to be any more complicated than just wrap around all the pages. There we go. So yeah, we do want them to be side by side though, because that's going to be nice to have the instructions here and then the grid just recreated over here in SVG mode in an SVG way. Okay, so we're going to do that. Since they're all going to be individually clickable, I'd rather not try to have like a single background image that is this and then overlay some interactable stuff on top of that single image. I'd rather have a bunch of individual cells that are right next to each other, and each of them contains a circle, because that way there's no way that the scaling can be off. Like, if you change the size of the image, then all of a sudden nothing lines up anymore, and you have to recalculate the size of each cell so that they all land exactly where a circle is on the background image. I don't want to deal with that. So I think we're going to make 24 individual cells, 6 by 4, and each one will have a single circle as its background, and then we'll be able to change the color depending on what column it is. I think that'll work better. So we don't even really need to create this whole matte image. We'll just create one of them, and then we'll use some code in JavaScript to generate the rest. So we do need to design a single circle in SVG code. That'll be very easy. We'll start out very simple. It's really easy to do this in Inkscape too, but since it's such simple code, we might as well just do it ourselves. Let's see, this one uses an inline SVG. There we go. We need a view box. We're going to need that thing. We may not need anything else. Okay, so this view box can be very small. Just make them 100 pixels each. It doesn't really matter. It's a circle. I see no reason why we can't just call it a circle class. We might as well. Um, should be okay. I don't see any reason why we would need to name anything else circle in this document, so that should be fine. Do that. I'll go ahead and close it just so things don't complain. And we're going to put a single circle in here. Let me just remind myself of this, what this SVG code looks like. Circle, you've got CX, CY, and R, that's right. And then there's a, everything's in quotes, and you've got fill also. Okay, so we need CX, CY. So this is the center of the circle. Everything's in quotes. And then the radius is not going to be 50. We're going to make it a little smaller than the entire square because the hands and the feet can go over the edge of the circle, and I think I want it that way. Yeah, this is the original discussion about the request. We're going to want this smaller than radius 50. Let's say 40 for now. We want it smaller than the square it's going to be in, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Let's put this inside a div class equals, let's call it cell. And I will get back to that in a second. The fill on this particular circle, let's call it red. So that's F00, all red and no blue or green. Let's go back to this. Oh, not that one. There we go. One gigantic circle. Okay. Jeez. Okay, so first of all, we're going to make all div.cells. We're going to make these particular size. Let's say height. Let's see what 100 pixels does. Shrink that right down. Here we go. Let's say border, just for now, border color white. That did not work. Oh, okay. Fine. It doesn't have a width, so 1 pixel solid white, just so we can see where it is. Okay, yeah. So I want the cells to be about this big because I want the hands and feet to be able to stick out beyond the bounds of the circle, and then, but it'll be within the bounds of this square. But the squares will be invisible. They'll just be in a grid like this. You won't be able to see the cell borders. But I'm going to keep them white for now, so that I can see where the divisions are between cells as we build this thing. Okay, we want our circle to have a stroke or an outline. And let's see, the stroke color, let's just make it, no, let's make it kind of a whitish, an off-white, and then we'll do Stroke width is 6. Okay, that's a big stroke. How about 2? Cool. Yeah, because you notice these things have a black stroke around them. You'd still be able to see it if it was black, barely, and that's fine if it's just barely. Yeah, that's nice. Yeah, I'll probably keep it black for now. Okay, so, and the cool thing, one of the things we're going to do, we're not going to define the SVG code in the HTML section like this, in the body of the document. We're just going to set up the grid. Let's do that right now. Div class mat. Boom. So this thing will be the mat, and inside it, the JavaScript will be able to insert everything that it needs. We're going to generate this code with JavaScript. Let's copy a few things that we're going to need. This is going to have quite a bit of JavaScript in it compared to the audio keypad one that we did. This will be much more complicated than that. Everything that we're going to do is going to go right inside this function call here, and this is the syntax in jQuery that says just run this code as soon as the page loads. So that'll be good. So right away, here's how jQuery works. When you do $ parentheses and then a string, it works a lot like CSS up here. So if you wanted to find all of the divs that had the cell class, you would just type div.cell. Or if you wanted to find absolutely anything that had the .cell class, you could do that. So what we're going to do is search for the mat. So this will match any of them. Since there's only one, and there's definitely only one, I might do it like this, or just do it with an ID. I might do it with an ID. ID equals the mat. So we will go ahead and find the ID, the mat. That's what the # there does. And we will say let the mat equal this. You know, we might as well just make it mat. There's only one, so it's probably okay that we won't need to redefine this later. Go ahead and set up a div.mat right here. We know we're gonna define its height and width later. We know 100 pixels is about the right size, maybe a little big. We only need 4 of them though, so yeah, that's probably about the right size. Okay, so we now have a variable called mat. It'll make it much easier to add things to it. We're going to want to generate a bunch of cells in here. And we might add some labels as well. We might add like A, B, C, D, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 along the side. You know, like this, we might label the cells. Just so it's convenient for the expert to communicate back to the diffuser. You know, left hand is in A3, right hand pink is in C3, whatever. I might do that. That's pretty easy, especially since we already have a manual that does that. So we have the code already for generating it. So it's one of the things in making interactive manuals. Find something that you want from another manual, and you can use it. We're not going to need rotations or anything, but we'll need that. So just get a little bit of stuff started here. Okay. So we are going to need rows. There are 6 columns. There are 4. Well, we'll change that to columns right away. Fix that. We are not going to have rotations. So this is adding the letters. So we'll append this to the mat. There we go. So we make a variable called row that is a div, and we add to that div the class letters, which we will create in a minute here. And we're also going to add to it, what are we going to call this? Circle row instead of symbol row. Yeah, just go ahead and change those right away. We don't have squares, we have cells. We are going to have a numbers class. We're not going to need the background to be white. We're going to need a cell. Well, for right now, we'll call it a mat cell. Okay, I'm getting ahead of myself. We don't need to worry about that just yet. Okay, so we're gonna have a class called cell. Oh, we have a class called cell. Great. And so let's see. We had a thing here that defined a square. What else? What are the conditions on a square? Oh, there's lots of things. So it has a size. It floats to the left. We're not really going to need that actually because we're going to enclose them in a stack. They're not going to have text. And because they're not going to have text, we probably don't need any of this. We can keep cursor pointer for now. Nope, not that one. This one. I don't know if we're going to need anything else there. Position relative, we're going to need that. So position relative and position absolute are pretty interesting things. When you have a div that is position relative, it will position itself relative to other objects that are defined before it. If you have one that's absolute, it'll be in one spot on the page always. No matter like if you scroll or not, it's always in the same place. But if you have a parent object, if you have a div that is position relative and then you have inside of that another div that's position absolute, then it's absolute position within that parent object, but not within the entire page, which is very useful. I don't know if it will come up much in this one because everything is going to be we're probably just going to center everything. But that came up a lot in this one, for example, like positioning this one with exact coordinates within this parent object here. So div dot mat cell. Okay, well that's fine. The size is going to be probably exactly the same. For now, let's not define the size. Okay, we have a cell. So the cell basically is just going to define the sizing of everything. So that's why we have the letters and the numbers and the mat circles all defined as cell classes because those are all going to be the same size. So everything lines up nice in a nice grid pattern. So we've got this. We've added that. Now we need to add the SVG to it, and we have this nice little function right here in that manual, Maze Cubed Interactive. This is a little bit of code I use all the time now. It's very cool. It'll build an SVG element and stick it inside any existing SVG. So that's very nice. And at this point, we don't actually have. We have some SVG code defined down here. What did I not close? This isn't finished. This thing isn't closed. There we go. Yeah, now all of our colors are correct. Okay, we should actually be able to just define this as is. Should be pretty easy to just insert that. Let's just see if we have the right number of things going on here. Yeah, that's just going to be in there for now. We'll see what it ends up looking like. Okay, so we've got some letters showing up on the grids. That's interesting. Ah, of course, there are errors. Okay, right, and we have to define Circle row. Okay, we have to define that very specifically, actually. So in this one, it's called symbol row, and yeah, it's a flex box. Cool. So we're going to define our own right here. It's going to be, what is it called? It's called a circle row. The height of each row, we're going to make it exactly 100 pixels because that's the size of these boxes. It's going to flex in the row direction, which means it's going to line up each child inside of the whole container. It's going to line them up next to each other instead of on top of each other. Center everything, display flex, margin auto. I don't know if we need margin auto, but that'll be okay. What does this do? Okay, not what I was expecting. Okay, so yeah, and by the way, this is how you have to do interactive manuals. You got to do them a bit at a time. You can just go ahead and, although you can code everything all at once, and even if you can envision it in your head, like, oh, I know exactly what it needs to do, and I can just write all the code all at once. Don't do that. It's not a good idea because it definitely won't work on the first try, and then you won't have any idea why it doesn't work on the first try because there's so much to debug if you've written all the code all at once. So you got to go step by step. So what we're trying to do here is we're trying to take the mat, which is this. It's a let me show you exactly where it is right now. Oops. Right now the mat is right there. That's interesting. So we've actually got things that come out of the mat. That's interesting. We don't have any errors in the JavaScript. That's fun. So what are the dimensions of the mat? 400 by 600. Oh, duh. Does that change anything? No, but it should change. Yeah, okay. So then now it's the dimensions I expect. It's taller than it is wide, but we're not getting the arrangement I was looking for. Let's see. Circle row letters. Letters haven't been defined and neither have numbers. Let's fix that. So we're going to copy that stuff. We're going to plop that right here. This is going to say right, so we're just defining the size of those. So these are not squares, they're cells. So yeah, they should have a font size. Each cell should have a font size defined. So if we do this, yeah, they all get bigger. Great. Oh, forgot to change these. Okay. We're going to add a row of letters appended to the mat. And for this many columns, we're going to add in some cells that have this text. And we've got our ABCD already. This is saying character code 65, which is an A, plus I. And so I is iterating from 0 to 4 in this case. So the text of the cell is going to be ABCD. Add that to the row. That seems to work. I don't know where the borders went though. And then we've got this row, circle row. Right, so we're going to append a row to the mat, and then we're going to add things to the row. The numbers is the first one, and then we're not really adding anything else, are we? Oh, yes, we are. Oh, that brought the borders back. That's interesting. So right now, we're seeing that these rows, oh, they're all on top of each other. That's interesting. They're not stacking because these things have absolute position. Not so sure about that. Oh yeah, that's what it was. Pretty sure we're going to need that at some point though. Okay, so by getting rid of absolute position temporarily on the mat cells here, we can see that we've got our grid here. Things aren't quite lined up, but that's okay. We're not done. we can totally do this also, and then I'll center the numbers and the letters. So what we'll do to make these actually line up is we'll make them all the right size, first of all. So these, okay, right, it doesn't fit because the thing isn't big enough. So we need 500 and 700 mat size. There we go. Now these are all nice and square. Everything looks relatively centered. The ABCD are fine. Let's put in an offset there. We'll just insert a fake one. We will make its width 50 pixels wide for now. Oh, I guess we do need to, oh, it did move it over a little bit. Okay. Well, we can go the full width then. And if we're gonna go the full width, we might as well just have it add the actual class. Just have it add the cell class. There, perfect. All right, so we've got something here. Yeah, we don't need that anymore, but we're going to recreate that. Inside each cell is going to be a circle. So what we want to do is insert an SVG there. Yeah, and honestly, we can just do it like this. So let's put in our magic thing here. There we go. So yeah, $, parentheses, and then we'll put a string. We'll use single quotes because this thing contains double quotes. So we'll use that as its base code there. Come over here, dot, append to element. Did that actually work? Inside each of these is there, yep, there's an SVG in there. Class circle. Great. So what we want to do is name this now. Let circle equal this. We don't have anything else called that, right? Good. Okay, so it's already appended to the element, and now we can just manipulate it by doing this. Right, we have the full thing, and we're going to append onto it things made with that tool. Okay, great. So the way that we use this nifty function that inserts elements into SVGs automatically, it's very nice. You give it just your list of attributes. So we'll just go ahead and copy this, paste it like that. So this is going to be, just call that SVG. We'll call this one the circle. This one's the actual circle. So it's circle. We know what the code looks like. It's we can use all of this. R is 40. Stroke width is 2. We already have that. Great. The class is going to change depending on what column we're in. Let's make an array. Circle colors. We want them to be these colors. Okay, that should be fairly simple. Okay, so let's see, 6, F, 6, that would be red, green, blue. That'll be our green. How about AA0? We'll see what that looks like later. We'll adjust these in a minute. The next one was a bluish, so 6F maybe, we'll see. The last one's fairly red. It also has some whiteness, it looks like. F66, okay. I wanted to do this with some CSS. So green has a fill like this. Blue is this. And green is this. I mean, red is this. Circle colors of X. Right, because X is the column that we're in. So it'll give it, it'll give each of these that class, and therefore the fill will end up being one of these. The stroke black, we already decided on that. The stroke width is 2, so that should be all good. We're going to append circle to SVG. Probably aren't going to need the array format there. Let's see. Yeah, we broke it. append child's not a function. Okay, how about we keep that on there. Okay, it did need that. Oh, I was way wrong on the colors. Okay. Is this an image? Yeah, that's okay. Oh, it's an SVG though. That's nice. So what do we got here? That looks like it's one of the colors. The red one, maybe? No, the yellow one. I think that's the yellow one. Yep. Nice. Okay, what else? That's the blue one, because it's mostly blue. Okay. There we go. That's the blue we were looking for. The green. I got pretty close on the green. This one is the red one. And this one's the green one. Okay. Okay. So now I should be spot on. Yeah, great. Okay, so there we go. Auto-generated our grid for us. And that means we don't need this anymore. And we're just gonna do that. There we go. All of these things have been generated in the JavaScript. You notice, yeah, there's nothing inside this div anymore. Right. So here's the whole div right here. That was the only part of the HTML code that we actually wrote. See, it's right there. And then all of this other stuff got inserted. These rows got inserted, and then these cells got inserted into the rows by the JavaScript. So that's very nice. It's all lined up exactly how we wanted. We're going to get rid of these white borders at some point. Let me just check something. Yeah, good. They don't like get pushed to the next row when you make the page too small. Okay, great. If I fixed that by making the mat a fixed size. Yeah, so it's a fixed size. So no matter how small you make the page, it's always gonna be that size. So the next thing we want to do is to start making the hands and the feet that will go on these circles. So I am gonna go find this. Yep, we found it already. We're gonna drop that right in here. Embedded, that doesn't make any difference because we're going to trace it. Okay, so, right, this thing is huge. That's okay. It doesn't make any difference. We are going to trace these hands. We're going to take this tool here. We're going to zoom in, and I will try and make some nice contours here. Okay, there we go. I've traced the hand. Not perfectly happy with all of them. This one is a little weird, and there we go. We can fix a couple of these that are a little weird. Okay. Just make everything nice and tangent. This one's not, the curve isn't big enough. So that's a good looking hand. And now I'll trace the foot. Okay, I've traced the foot now. And looks pretty good. Okay, yeah, that's looking good. And then we'll trace these guys. They'll be really easy because they're circles. Yeah, you know, I could have made it a perfect circle by using the tools, but I kind of like that it's not a perfect circle. It's more organic. It looks like a toe, or, you know, more like a toe than a perfect circle would. Great. Excellent. So we have a hand and a foot. Perfect. We can get rid of that. And there we go. We've got our hand and foot. I want to save these one at a time, actually. Right hand, right foot. Get rid of that. This is only going to be the foot. And we're going to resize the page so that it only contains this thing. So I'm going to select all of those guys. We're going to want fill and stroke. I might just turn that off and have them have a fill instead. It's a very purpley color. Yeah, it's close enough. Okay, we have our foot. And yeah, I don't think it needs any stroke really. Let's go back to the hand. This time we can get rid of all of that. Can select this one and resize and fill and stroke. Don't need a stroke. We do want a fill. Oh, look at that. That's already the right color. Perfect. That's it's a lot of red. Let me take away green. We'll leave some blue, it looks like. To get that pink. Yeah. Okay, so now we have both colors and we have all the shapes. So what we're gonna do is close all of that. We're gonna go to the SVG tool, the minifier. Okay, we're gonna try to keep as much of that curvature as we can. Yeah, see, that's really sharp. That's not too bad. And I'm pretty sure, yep, that's a better curvature. Let's see. Yeah, it gets sharp when you do that. Okay. So precision 2 is usually the biggest you ever need to go on this tool. Take a look at what the code looks like for this. Yep, it's very simple. So somewhere in here, it's going to have the fill. There it is. There's our fill. That makes it pink. So that's neat. And then we'll be able to just flip it around, minimize it again, and then we'll be able to just fill in the colors. Hey, look at that. It's exactly the same path. It's just a different color. Perfect. Just what I wanted. Okay, great. And then we can do the same for the feet. Actually, we need to spin one of them around the other way. Path, combine, that's what I wanted. Good, now they are actually one path. Yep, cool. Okay, good. And we are going to flip it horizontally. Boom. We now have a left foot. Excellent. Oof. There's some awkwardness down there. So actually, I'm going to want to save this as right foot 2. And then again, actually, yeah. And then again, as left foot 2. Yes, replace it because we edited the path. Flip horizontal. Thank you. Save. Okay. And then for you, I need to take this path, flip horizontal. We now have a left hand, save as. Okay, so I've went ahead and made the rest of them. You can see they all look pretty good. Got all of my left and right feet of both colors there. We're going to need to add some tools. I'm thinking on the right side, possibly just all 8 of them as their own tool. Might just do that actually. It could be smaller than the cells. So this is what I'm thinking. We're going to have the tools, but on the right side of this grid here, we're going to have all the hands and feet in different colors, just 8 of them in a row. Maybe in 2 rows like this, kind of lined up next to each other. We'll see. But in columns, definitely on the right side. So what you do is you select the one that you want and you place it where you want it. And if you select a different one and place it in an occupied one, it just overwrites it. And there's a move function where you can do this. You can drag it to another place, and you can even drag it on top of another piece, and it'll replace it. So I'm thinking we're going to do that for this also. Yeah. Well, let's first start by adding the tools. See how we did it here. The tools are below, so they get added right here. Yeah, this is all the tools. And then we have a list of pieces that are, yeah, okay, cool. You can even make that a constant. Okay, so we'll take a lot of this actually and plop it in here. So instead of chess pieces, we're going to call it, there we go. And we might as well just make them the same size. I think we have room. We might have to make this smaller. That's totally fine. Oh, right. And then we've got a, okay. So we need 450 pixels wide and a height 630. Yeah. There we go. So now there's plenty of room for us to stick a couple of tools over here. Let's just see what it looks like with 2 more columns. There should be plenty of space. Oh, that's not what I wanted actually. Because now we have to up the width also to 630. Yeah, it all fits within the page. So this is where the tools can go. We're bumping right up against the margin though, which is fine. I don't know, I might go to 80. It doesn't need to be this big. We could totally go to 80. Okay, so yeah, there's plenty of space. These will be off on their own, and they'll be shifted over a little bit so they're not right next to the grid, probably a half a cell each, and then so we'll have plenty of room with 80 each. So then what we're going to do is build the 2 rows of tools that will be here. We can make these vertical stacks, I think is what we're going to do. This stuff, vertical stacks and horizontal stacks. Just define those at the very top here. So these are just classes that are stacking. Anything that you put inside one of these divs will stack vertically or horizontally. So that's really nice. So what we want to do is define one down here. We're going to want 2 rows. So the outer ones have to be a horizontal stack. We called it tools. C1, and this is tools C2, just so we can identify them in code here. Yep, tools C1 and C2, cool. So we don't have pieces. We have, yeah, we'll just go with player. Yeah, it's player 1 and player 2, because that's what it says in the manual. That'll be fine. So let's see, what does the piece class do? It's, oh, nothing really. It has a margin, that's interesting. Just separate the tools, I guess, yeah. This is gonna be a player. Okay, there are 4 each. Const players equals, and we're gonna name these a bunch of different classes that we're gonna make. So very simple, left hand 1, yeah, that'll be good. And then we just need to change these guys to 2s. Okay, and now we have our 8 classes. Now we need to define those 8 classes. L hand 1, image, twister, left hand 1. Okay, we don't need that one. Okay, so I've filled in these 8 classes. So anything with these classes are going to have this background image. That'll be nice. Hopefully that ends up being in front of the circles. Otherwise, we can just plop another div inside of here that, yeah, that fills in those. Okay, so yeah, so what you're going to see happen here is we're going to make a div for each thing in here. We're going to make a new div inside of the tools row that'll be over here. Oh, we didn't actually do that properly, did we? No, we need another horizontal stack, one that ends here. There we go. This needs to come first, there. So we'll have the mat on the left side and this stack of tools on the right side. And actually, we can just put in a divider right here. Okay, so it started to make stuff over there. So, yeah, that needs to be a cell, not a square. Okay, we're making progress. It's got the images in there. They're the wrong. We gotta make the size a different size, but that's okay. I wonder if we just don't tell it how big it is. Don't specify the size. Just get rid of this entirely. Nope. Wait. Ah, it does help. It makes it fit in the box. Great. So that's very nice to know. So we want background repeat, no repeat. And we want background position. So we can try centering it, see what that does. Oh, look at that, it's perfect. Didn't have to mess with any numbers or anything. Okay, that'll be nice. Yeah, they're not quite lined up because there's a move tool on one of them, but that's all right. We'll fix that in a minute. Okay, so now I'm just going to go ahead and do that to the other guys. Okay, there we go. Now we need to fix the backgrounds on everybody else. Okay, so I'll just move these to the end. There we go. So now it's going to apply this no repeat position center to all of these guys. I just put them in a comma list here and it'll apply it to all of them. And there you go. Those are looking pretty good. Okay, we're going to copy this attribute here for anything that's a move. a move tool particularly. So I don't know what the text is all about there, but this ought to get this about the right size. It does not. What is your problem? It's a cell, and therefore it's a 40 pixel font. Okay, well, if we really want to, we can go div.cell that is not .move and do that. And there we go. Okay, and then we're going to want to put in a fake invisible tool there. It'll just be an empty cell. So we're going to just plop this right here to the end of tools 1. It just needs to be an extra invisible cell on the tools 1 row. Yeah. So this one will be invisible. It'll have no borders or anything. It won't be clickable either. So let's look up how we handle the clicking of each of these. Yeah, you notice the cursor changes as you hover over something clickable. So that's nice. That was because we had cursor pointer, all cells actually. Yeah, so we don't need it here. So you see how they're all separated a little bit. There's some space. That's because there's a margin around them right here, around all the players. Okay, and let's look at how 1D chess handles clicking them. All right, so you can see there's a click function. This one, yeah. So it says, so right. Let me explain what this code is that I copy and pasted. It says for all the things in this array, these are the names of classes, so that's nice and convenient right here. We're going to need to select it actually. Right, it's the name of it's a string object. Okay, great. So it says for everything in here, we're going to create a new div with class player and class cell. So cell is just for the sizing so that it's the right size. It's the same size as all these things. Player means that it's going to be one of these tools. So we can distinguish clicking on one of these things from clicking on one of these things. These are all mat squares, and these are mat circles, and these are all players. So so it has to have both of those classes. And this says we're going to append it to either tools 1 if the index is less than 4, or tools 2 if it's bigger than 4. And so it adds 4 of them here and then adds 4 of them there. And then we have these extra bits of code down here that adds, we don't need that just yet. Actually, let's do that. Let's have it default to one of them. Yeah, okay, so it'll be selected, but you can't tell that it's selected just yet though, because we haven't done that yet. Now might be a good time to get rid of the borders on all cells. Let me just get rid of that border. There we go. It's very nice. Oh, you see that? It's actually working to select them. Yeah, that's very nice. So the one that's selected gets the selected class. So I think if you refresh the page, one of them ends up being selected. Yeah, that one is the selected one. You can't tell though because I didn't put a highlight on it. So let's put a highlight on it. This is .player.selected. I don't think we're going to need to change the margin. Oh, yes, we are. Yeah, we have to reduce the margin because the border is going to become 2 pixels wide and dashed. And red, I believe, is what we're going to go with. There we go. It'd be nice actually if there was a little extra space inside of there for the image. If I don't really want the border touching the image of the hands and the feet. So let's shrink that a little bit. Background size, 80%, is that a thing? Oh, these got bigger. They're taking up more space. 120%? Is that gonna shrink? Oh, no. Interesting. Okay, how about 50%? Oh, there we go. Huh. I don't know why 80% wasn't correct. Okay, yeah, I like that. Yeah. Oh, the hands are different for some reason. What happens if we do 65? Huh. I don't want the, I mean, feet are bigger than hands, like longer than hands, but okay. Well, so that's working now. Got a selection system in place, and let me show you what's going on. We have this style that says .player.selected, has a margin of 2 and a border of that. So normally they have a margin of 4 around them, keeping them away from each other, and they have a border. So when they gain the class selected, the margin is going to reduce by 2 pixels, but the border is going to increase from nothing to 2 pixels and become red and dashed. And what happens is right here it says, okay, we're gonna define that it's going to be a div. It's going to have the class player and cell. It's going to be appended to the right row of tools, and when you click on it, this is the code that you should run when you click on it. The code says take all dot players, so that's everything on the whole document that has a player class, and remove the class selected from it. So find anything that is a dot player class and remove the selected class if it has it. And then this, again, the special keyword this that refers to the thing being clicked in this case. So that would be the div that we're creating here. When it's clicked, add to the one that was clicked the class selected after we've removed the class selected from everybody else. There's only one button that has each of these classes, so all we need to do is store the name of the class, and since we're creating them in this order, I from 0 to players.length, we actually know which one this particular one has because it's when it was created, you know the index was correct, so we can say selected equals players of I. So for example, when you click on the one that has the rhand1 class, which would be the right hand one, that would be this one. See, right hand one is the one selected, and it's the only one that has the class right hand one or rhand one. And so then we're going to store in the selected variable the name of that class. So that'll come in handy later when we're going to try to apply that to these guys. You're going to want to say, you know, I want to stamp a right pink hand on one of these squares. And we'll know which symbol should be stamped on each of these circles that you click on based on the fact that we stored the name of the class in this selected variable. Okay, and then at the very end of that, after the click function is finished, we're actually then adding the class. I mean, we could have done this up here. We could have done it right here, but I kind of like putting it down there because it's makes the lines shorter. So create this, figure out what to do when it's clicked, and then add this class. This is not something that happens after you click it. This is just happens when you're creating it. This only the stuff inside of these two braces are what happens when you click it. This is just something that's going on as we're creating the object. So we're adding these classes, and that's how each one gets their own unique class and therefore unique image. So, and then down here, this one is actually clicking on the left-hand one. It simulates a click on the left-hand one, and that's why when you first open the page, that one is automatically selected because in the code, we clicked on it right there. And then we're creating the empty cell that goes at the end of tools 1. That's there's an invisible one right here. Actually, we don't need that one to be, we don't need that one to have a pointer. I might fix that actually. And then this one is the move tool. This one actually can't be clicked on, you notice. So we should probably get rid of the cursor change there. So how are we going to do that? Let's think about it. We could make a special class or something. Okay, well we can go no pointer then. And that doesn't do anything yet until we define it. So we're going to go div.cell that is not a dot, whoops, that is not a dot no pointer. That's where you're going to have this. So yeah, only the cells that are not no pointer get the pointer. So there we go. Now it no longer does the pointer in this empty space down here, which we didn't want it to anyway, because it's not clickable anyway. Okay, so the things are looking nice. These things are not clickable yet. We didn't do anything with them. We just created them. We just made them, and now we have to make them clickable. Okay, it has been a couple months since the last time I worked on this interactive manual, but I've reviewed the footage, so I know what I was talking about. So the next thing we want to do is make these things do something when you click them. I've also learned a couple of things in the past couple months. So like for example, there's a cleaner way to do this. Looks nicer. You don't have to index into the array that this gets created by this thing, by jQuery there. So I'll refresh this a couple of times just to make sure everything still looks good, and it does. Twister has the condition that you should remove a hand or foot that already has a position on the mat first before you calculate its new position. So what you might want to do, what an expert might want to do is just take it off the board entirely so that they can see more clearly what's going on before they put it. So instead of moving this from here to here, you might just say, oh, this is the one I'm going to want to move. So I'll just click there. It goes away. You can do your calculation based on the new, now how many empty spaces there are, and then just put it where it needs to go. So, but either way, it'll have both those features. So you can choose to either move it or to just place it where you want it. Okay, so we'll take a look at this 1D chess code that does that. This is from here all the way down to here is the stuff that says what happens when you click one of these squares, depending on which one of these tools is selected. So we're going to want most of that. Yeah, we're definitely going to change it quite a bit. So it's going to be right here. So the SVG code was added to the element. Yeah, it was added to the cell. So that's this thing right here. It adds the circle to it right there. Defines the circle, adds the circle, and now we're going to say if someone clicks on the whole element, which is this whole like square area here that contains the circle, So element.mouse down, that's an event for when you've pushed down on the left mouse button but not lifted up yet. So we do this so that it doesn't create further click events for other things to handle. We want that click to do only one thing, and we're going to control precisely what it does. So that's what these do. We're also going to record the X and Y positions. So the X and Y positions are up here, and they're defined by these two nested for loops here. So as it was going and creating all of these things, it was keeping track of the X and Y coordinates as it was creating them. So we happen to have the X and Y coordinates just inside right here. So we can write down what it is inside a new variable called start. It's way up here. And it's made null by the document being clicked anywhere, so that's nice. So somewhere up here, there we go. Whenever the document is clicked, so that's anywhere on this page. Yeah, we're going to want to, this event will only be triggered on things that are not like this, because this one will handle the click event and then it will prevent other things from having to deal with that click event. So this thing won't get triggered when you do that, theoretically. So, and we're going to want to define it there. And I'll put it up there. This we're going to use at some point, but not yet. We don't have a number yet, but we're going to have a stage number up here above the grid. Let me turn on my cursor capture. There we go. So up here above the grid, we're going to have a stage counter, just like this. Except this one you would use for counting down the number of moves in this chess thing, but we're going to be counting up, and I think we're going to automatically increment it every time you click save. And we're still going to have the plus and minuses, though, just so you can control precisely what number it's at per save. So we've pasted a whole bunch of code in here. This part handles the down click. I don't think we're going to need this, so get rid of that. So this is when you click down, and then when you click back up again. So the reason why we have two different events is so that we can tell where it moved to. In the chess one, it's also for when you do things like this. So it's saying, hey, I want you to highlight all the ones from here to here based on the click and drag event. So the code has to know where you started the click and where you ended, where you released it. So this is where you pushed down, and this is where you released it. So you have different coordinates here. So yeah, this one will be triggered on mouse down. It'll be one of the elements will record the start, and then here, since start is outside of this loop, it's way up here. That start variable gets changed by the first element that gets clicked on, and then it gets used by the second element that has this mouse up event. So it's a little confusing, a little hard to think about all at once, but yeah, so when you push your mouse down on this one per se, and you wanted to move it, down here, let's say there's a hand here that you wanted to move down here. So this item registers the start coordinates and updates the start variable, and then when you let go down here, let's say, then this one says, okay, I know where you started clicking because somebody else recorded it, and I know my own coordinates in the grid. That would be this element that registers the mouse up event. So it knows its own coordinates, X and Y. And so it can figure out to delete the one that's there and put a new one there. That's what we're going to do. So a lot of this is a little unnecessary because we're not going to be highlighting things in bulk. We're just going to be moving things. So we can get away with much simpler code here. I think we don't need most of this actually. We might be able to get away with just a little bit here. I think we might only need that. So if we click here, there we go. So the selected, see, I previously had the right foot, player 2, right foot selected, R foot 2. And now that we clicked on this, the selected variable now says moving. So if the move tool is selected, we'll know because the selected variable will have the text moving in it. Right, so then this code says we're going to store x and y, the current coordinates of the cell where you let go. I'm going to push that into this array. This is just an empty array right now, and we're going to push into it pairs of coordinates. If the place where you clicked down is different than the place you clicked up, then we want to store an extra thing, and that is the original one. So we want to say if start of 0 is not equal to x and start of 1 is not equal to y. So that means, yeah, the place that we let go is definitely a different coordinate than where we clicked down. That's when we're going to want to store another one, and I think that would be, yeah, that would be start 0, start 1. So we're going to store that one too. Otherwise, we're just going to store the current one where we let go. And I do believe that's all we needed of all of this section. This thing ends way down here, yeah. So it has to have a start. Yeah, so this, we set it to null there. So that means, yeah, it had to the original click, the mouse down event had to have started on one of the cells for this to work. That's a good control measure to have. So you can't click over here and then slide over here and then let go. That won't work because it's making sure that the start thing is still valid. Right, and then start gets put to null right at the end there, so we're fine. And clicking on the document also sets it to null, so. Okay, so the next part of this code, I'm pretty sure we're fine without all of that, but we'll see in a minute here. We can go ahead and change all of these to mat. There we go. There's probably a couple of things. Yeah, pieces. Those are functions that don't exist yet. We will have to create them. That's going to be important. Marking is not going to exist. So that was the highlighting feature of the chess one. We're not going to do any marking. We are going to do moving though. And then if we're not doing moving, we're going to do this thing, and I'll get there in a minute. So let's just change all of our variable names. We definitely have an array for this. There it is. I might want to put that higher. Put it right there. Players. Okay, yeah, not pieces. We're going to want a couple of those similar functions. We're going to want to be able to say which one it has, and we're going to be able to want to remove all of them. We're going to drop that right here. I think it's the end of this one. Yeah, we're going to drop those functions right there, but they're not going to be pieces. They're going to be players. How many of these are there? Right, so every one of those looks good to me. They all need to be replaced precisely with players instead. Go. Perfect. So we now have those two functions, and that's nice. So yeah, what that's going to do is enable us to figure out which class each of these buttons has when they're clicked on, and which, yeah, same. It's actually these ones, which like if there's a hand or a foot stamped on any of these, yeah, we're going to be able to tell using that function. So if the changed array has length greater than 0, so that means we made it into here. So in our case, I think we just want to move this outside. It's a little messy actually, but I'm pretty sure we're right about this here. And that, let's clean this up a little bit. There we go. So definitely push in the current coordinates, and then possibly if we're moving and the start location is different than the current location, then push in that also. So definitely there needs to be at least one in here in this changed array. Okay, so we are using from, we're not using first at all. Not in this scope here. So we'll get rid of that. Yeah, so from is going to grab a copy of the element. It's gonna reference the element where we started to press down on the mouse. Yeah, so it's not just the coordinates of where it was. It actually says, yeah, go and get it. And after we have a reference to that element, we will then find out which shape was that. Which of these hands or feet was it that we started to click on. So that's what this is. It says find which player class that one has, that starting location one. So then we're going to say for each thing inside of this array, yeah, so the moving one, you have to have more than one. And otherwise, you have to have exactly one in there. And then if anything else, just don't do anything. Because the moving one requires a start location and end location, and this one requires you to have just clicked on one. So we can make, now that we have those assumptions confirmed with these two statements, that makes our coding easier to think about because we know certain things ahead of time. It's like, okay, if we've made it inside this if statement, we're definitely attempting to move, and there are two things inside of the changed array, which means these things succeeded up here. We stored the current location and the original location so that we can do things with that. We can remove the player class from the original one, all player classes. So it'll return to just being a circle and not having a hand or anything on it. Right, and we're going to do that in either case, actually. We're going to remove the player class, but if the starting location is not equal to the current location, then we are also going to add on the new one. Yeah, so remove from the original one, no, remove from the current one where you let go all player classes, and then add on a copy of the player class that came from the place where you started to click. Okay, but you have a copy of both of the items, this one and the one where you let go, like the original one, the one where you let go. And so it's going to loop through both of those. On the one where you let go, this isn't going to work because the ending location and the starting location are different. And so you're going to do this one instead. You're going to remove any and add one. And on this one, it says, oh, this one is the starting location and we're moving. So all we want to do is remove all player classes from that one because we want to delete any that are on the original and add it to, and then delete any that are on the current and add the one that one had. So that's how that works. And then this one is if you just click and release in the same cell, it's much simpler. Find out which class it has currently. Go ahead and remove that class and then add on to it. Right, so we keep a copy of which one it was, which one it currently has, instead of just replacing what it is. In fact, that's the whole reason was we're trying to replace what it is. So let me show you. In this one, it's gonna behave like this. We want to be able to click here, and then when we click it again, we want it to go away. And the way that this code right here handles that. So find out which one it currently has. So that's this one. And so then I want you to remove that one. And if the currently selected tool, so that's this, has a different class than the one that this one had when I'm going to click on it, then go ahead and add the new one. Otherwise, we don't add a new one. And so what just happens is it says, all right, the tool that you have selected and the current cell both have the same image in them, so all I'm going to do is delete the image. However, if you have a different tool selected that has a different image than the current one, then it is going to delete this one and add that one. So that's the reason behind that code there. And if it doesn't have any class at all, then we just add it. I don't need to check any of that stuff. So that would be, in this case, it doesn't have one at all, so just go ahead and add that new class, which will give it the image. So I don't think this is going to work the first try, but we're sure going to try. Do we have any errors? No. So, pink hand. Aw, sad. So, does it at least have the right class? I don't think so. Okay, well that would be the reason why. So yeah, we've got this. And okay, so where does this happen? Add a div, call it mat_cell_cell. All right, give it these classes. Here's the element that is that, and if we click on that element, so the div itself, not any of the SVG that's in there. So this one, yeah, it should have gotten that class. Oh, it did. There we go. It is working. It didn't put the hand on there, but it worked. Okay, so yeah, there's an SVG inside of the div, but we can ignore that. So yeah, so unfortunately, putting in the background image doesn't seem to work. Yeah, it's supposed to do this. So let's see. I wonder if we can. Wonder what happens if we get rid of the SVG. Oh, did I delete the wrong one? Oh, that was interesting. So it's definitely there. It's behind the image. What the heck? Oh, it's applying it to the wrong one. Oops. Oh, because there's numbers on the left side? Yeah, that's what it is. Okay, so first of all, it's applying it to the wrong one. That's interesting. So when I click on the third one, it's actually applying it to this one. See? Yeah, it's that one that now has it. Oops. So let's fix that. Yeah, so I already took care of the fact that the y's, the y indexes needed to be offset because there are cells up here too, and these don't count. So I think if we just change that to a y and this to an equals, there we go. Now that they have the same logic. So starting at a 1 index instead of a 0 index accounts for the fact that there are these extra ones here that have their own coordinates. These are the x coordinate 0, and these are the y coordinate 0 ones. We don't care about those. They don't want to be part of the calculation. So now if we refresh this, yeah, see, it changes all the colors too. So yeah, they all got shifted to the left one. That's okay. That's okay. We can fix that too. So circle colors of x minus 1. There we go. So yeah, we incremented all the x values, so now we have to subtract it again right there. So we'll refresh, and there we go. We've got all our colors back. But now this is 1, 1 instead of like 0, 1 or 1, 0, whichever it was. Doesn't matter. It's 1, 1 now. And so this one, yeah, this one should be coordinate 1, 3. Yeah. So anyway, when we click on this one, there we go. Now it's that one that has the left-hand 1 class. And if we just manually go in here and delete the circle, there we go. It does in fact have that background, and see, it's working. Yep. The problem is it's behind the circle. So that stinks, but that's all right. We can still fix that. Oh, I wonder if we use a larger one. Let's find out, because the feet are larger than the hands. So what happens if we do this? Aha! It's there and it's visible because it's bigger than this circle. Perfect. That's actually exactly what I wanted. I wanted them to stick out a little bit beyond the edges of the circle, just because I think it would look cool. So that's good. Now we just have to make them appear in front of the circles. That should be fine. That should be doable. So what if we moved all this stuff right here? What if we said create for us another div right here before that div, but we do need to reference it though. Let circle holder equal that one. And we're going to, this one is going to be appended to the row instead. Yes, that's what we're going to do. And that might actually be enough, because then we can say, oh, no, because then we can do this. we're going to do exactly what this thing does. Function, we don't care about the index. Okay, so inside of here, we put all this stuff that I cut from here. I just pasted it here. So we're going to create an SVG. So in fact, let's go keep with the convention here. So we'll call this B for box, but we're actually going to have a thing called box. And here, we're going to append it to the box. So we're creating an element here. It has no size or anything, but it should be auto fit from the things that are inside it that determine its size. So yeah, it has no classes of any kind. It's just going to contain these things. So first thing it's going to contain is this SVG, and then we're going to add onto it a cell, and this thing is going to have the background image. And since it'll be on top of this, it should be okay. We're going to have to make it absolute though. It's going to have absolute position inside of the, yeah, okay, so we do need to give it a class then. Where is it? Here. Dot add class cell holder. Put that in quotes. Yeah, so then we'll define that as relative position in a minute here. And we'll define these guys as absolute position. Let me see here. These guys are cells, and these guys are cells and mat cells. So we'll make sure the mat cells are absolute. Okay, let's do that right now before we forget. Where are those? Yep, here they are. They're defined right here. There's where the cells are defined. So we will have div.cell holder, and let's keep with the convention here. Consistency. Position relative, and that's all that one's going to need. In fact, we can just really simplify this because that's all it needs. We might I might regret that because I might add more to it later, but now, oh, there we go. Look at that. Position absolute. It's already there. And now we actually need it because the parent of this guy is going to be a cell holder, and that one's going to be position relative. Okay. And yeah, and then we're also going to need to do that for maybe we need to do that to the SVG also, but we'll see. Yeah, the circle, this thing might need to be position relative or position absolute also, just so they land in the same place in the cell. But let's find out. Okay, so we've created a div. Yeah, circle holder, cell holder, whatever. It has class cell holder, but we called it this. Let's not forget we changed the name. That's appended to the row, and then this gets appended to the circle holder, and so does this. Yeah, so this box is actually this thing. So so this is the circle holder also. You see it just got a copy of it right there using the each feature. So they're both going to be added to this div, the SVG and the mat cell, which has the background image. And so now it should be on top of the circles. Oh, and we broke it. Maybe because they're not, oh, they're all still there. But they all have size 0 now. That's too bad. Okay, so I think we do need to apply, what if we give this thing a cell class also? Well, aha, there we go. Okay, so we had to make the cell holder also have the cell class, just so it has the right sizing. Yeah, because the cell class defines, defines having exactly this size. And position relative already too, so that's, heck, we don't even need this. Get rid of some complexity. These cells are already the right size and position relative, so we should be able to just make it a cell class and we'll be okay. So now, it still doesn't work. That's too bad. How about we get rid of that? Yep, it's still there, but it's interesting. Very interesting. Oh, no, I know what I'm doing wrong. We forgot to, so now we have this one is what's getting the class instead of this div. So yeah, this is getting the background image instead of this. Interesting. Yeah, I wanted it to apply to here, not to there. That's really interesting, actually. Oh, right. It's this is the problem. So we have to locate it inside of, so it's not just inside the mat. Right. So the initial children are the rows. The children of the mat are rows, and children of the rows are cells, and children of the cells are one of these. Yeah. Okay. So I think what we can do to fix that is to say we got to do this. We have to do this another layer. We have to go one more deeper than this. Dot children 1. I think that's what we got to do. It's kind of a mess to do it this way, but I think that will then, yeah, because we got the children of the mat are these, the children of these are individual cells. Yep. And inside of the cells, we want the second child to receive the class, not the SVG. So that would be, yeah, want child 1, not 0. Okay, let's see if that works. No errors in the console down here. That's good. Hey, that did it. It found it. It found the right div and applied it. Cool. Good. So now this is doing exactly what we want. Perfect. Yeah, exactly. And see that? Yep. And it's already doing exactly what we wanted. Perfect. Okay. So manual done. See you guys later. No. So this is the bare minimum functionality that this thing needs. But now we have to, does the move work? The move does not work. Okay, that's fine. Oh, it does work a little bit, but it didn't work. It only works, it doesn't work side to side. It works diagonally? What about over here? Oh, okay, so the move works a little bit. Fascinating, but it doesn't work straight down. It doesn't work across or up. It only works diagonally. Okay, fascinating. Oh, okay, I get it. I get it. Okay, so this condition is wrong. We were testing for, okay, it has to have a different x or a different y. Okay, so we're moving and the x is different or the y is different. How did it do that? So now if we move this one like this, yep, there we go. So now it doesn't matter as long as it's different. So if I go all over the place and then land here, it doesn't do anything. Great, now I can move it wherever I want to. Great, that's working really nicely. So now we just have to add a few extra things. We got to add a counter that keeps track of the stages, and we have to add saves, and along with saves we have to be able to like clear the board, clear all the saves, things like that. And one more thing that I would really like to add to this, what do you call it? Maze, forget maze not? Yeah, that's the one. The interactive version of this has a really nice feature that after you've started doing stuff, you close the tab and it says, oh, hey, are you sure you want to close the tab? Because this is a boss module. You're about to lose all of your stages if you close the tab, so that's really nice. And I think the reset does it too. Yep. The reset button also gives you the confirmation. Hey, are you sure? Because this is going to clear all of your stages. Yeah, good. So I want that too. So we'll open up that. Got me again. We'll open up that manual and we'll sneak that feature out of there. It has something to do with the window closing. It's catching the tab closing event. There we go. On before unload. Interesting. Okay, so that's the thing that gives you that message. That's very nice. I want that right there. So refresh. Go like this. Try and close it. There we go. Changes you made may not be saved. Great. So then, yeah, you cancel. If I do this, it says, boop, and then it lets me leave. Cool. And now we have to find the thing on the reset button too. It's going to be a string. There it is. Yeah, so it's when you're pushing the button. Oh, it's a confirm. That's interesting. So we'll keep a note of that. We'll come back to that. So yeah, we're going to want to add a counter up there. Let me take a look at some of mine. Here we append that. Okay, so we have this div up here that holds these things. So it has that button. We don't care about that. We care about these two though. And then the minus and plus buttons. Okay, perfect. So in order to do that, we're going to do div class vertical stack. And remember, that's a class that's defined in this file, so it's not just available. You have to define it. So no, that one is going to go here, and we're going to shift. Okay, now I got to come back here and recopy that. And we're going to have this. Okay, we don't need that button. Come over here and see what that looks like. Yep, please, go ahead. Actually, I think I'm going to want to disable this temporarily while we're working on stuff. So now when I refresh, yeah, it won't ask me. Cool. Okay, that's very nice. Change all moves to stage. Stage text, stage holder, stage number, perfect. This one too, but capitals. And so let's come over here and check out the classes I applied on this. Put that. This is kind of a waste there, okay. Okay, go ahead, thank you. There we go, here's all the stuff that defines the moves text. Yep, right there. There we go, much better. These buttons are still not quite good, but that's okay. We'll fix it in a minute. So we have nice spacing here. And these buttons don't do anything yet, but that is fine. We're going to want a lot of this stuff because this is what turns it blue after you save. I'm not sure if I'm going to keep that the way that this save system works, but we're going to want to keep a lot of this. We don't need any of that, but we're going to keep this one for sure. Okay, and other things we're going to need. So that makes the button turn black as you hover over it. That's kind of nice. This gives particular padding there. Different padding than the default. This is the default for all buttons on the page. So we're just gonna drop that in there. There we go. That separated them, and there you go. It gives the nice animation. Copy that. Put that there. Is that gonna force you into the right size? Yep. There we go. Well, I don't like it, but that works. Okay, so now these are nice sizes there, and we can go ahead and do the code that governs those. There we go. There's a couple of little segments here. Okay. Once again,
Yeah, so it's all of those. Yeah, go ahead. Okay, so we're going to have a couple of things here. Go ahead and put all of those in there. We're going to need all of them. But then we can change all of these to be current stage. That's what I want those to be called instead. So it's going to start at 0. So we can go ahead and change this to a 0. It's going to default to 0. And when you click on them, yep, stage text dot minus, and there's only one thing that has both of those classes. And you can see right here, stage text and minus, and this one's stage text and plus. So yeah, this jQuery says find anything that has both of these classes at the same level, because there's no space here. This would be dot stage text class, and then something underneath that has the minus class, but this is without the space. So we're not going to let it dip below 0. And I guess we don't really need a max. Let's do that. See if it works. Yep. Aw. Somewhere else it's being defined as 6. Oh, it's up here. Current stage. There we go. Oh, there's only one letter difference between those two variables. That's fine. Okay, there we go. As high as we want. And this shouldn't let us go below 0. Nope. Cool. Great. So yeah, we limited how low it can go with this nice math.max function. It says take the maximum between 0 and current stage minus 1. So that just says if you click on the minus button and current stage minus 1 would drop it below 0, just make it 0. And then update the text of the stage number. And stage number is a variable up here that grabs anything with that class, and there's only one of those, and it's this thing. So there we go. We got that going for us. I'm not too crazy about the positioning of this. I think I want to slide it over here. Oh, right, because it's probably not left. It's probably start. Hey, there we go. So that's nice. I wonder what happens if we... Oh, that's even better. Because now it doesn't force it to be in the center. So that'll work even better for the mobile version. Yeah, because it'll still work. Okay, cool. I kind of want this to be like centered over the over that guy, which is we can definitely do that. About 170. Yeah, that's moving now. Yeah, we're defining pretty much everything else in pixels, so let's just leave it alone. Okay, so that's close to centered, and I think if we, yeah, it's always going to be there. Good. So we're making a lot of progress here. Next thing we want to do is to be able to save the state, I believe. But we might want to do a couple of special things for how the save replacement behavior works. So for example, when I save this state, so now we had a previous save state that was nothing. This state brings back everything, including the highlights you noticed. That's funny. Just go ahead and get rid of all those. Save it again. So we can see it remembers the state at every time when you push the save button. So, and then you can like move this over here and save it, because then you can do things like this, and that's all going to be very nice. And of course the number too. So it remembers the number at each step along the way. So we want to do that. But when you go back in time and look at a previous state, you can still change things about that state, and it'll remember exactly what it was when you saved it. But here's something that I think we might want to change for Twister, and that's that when you click, when you're on a previous save state like this, and you change something, and then you click save, it deletes all future saves. and then makes a new one. So this is what it was. You clicked this, you changed something, and you clicked save again. So it says, oh, save 4 and 5 no longer make any sense because you've changed a past one. So I'll get rid of those and make a new one. So that could make sense with this. I'm not entirely sure I want it to work that way, because hopefully you're writing down, the moves, like in Notepad, let's say, you'd be writing down like left hand green, um, right hand blue, you know, things like that as you're getting the read from Twister. It might be nice if you could just replace an old one, but then it's still going to invalidate all future saves. I think I'm still going to want, when you click save, it erases all future saves if you currently have if you're currently looking at a past save. Maybe not. Maybe it just replaces the one that you were looking at. You'd still have to go forward and change I mean, we could have a delete future saves button in case you wanted that. Okay, I think I will actually keep the future saves. So let's take a look. There's some pretty complicated stuff that goes on when you want to save. Okay, so we have a couple of reset buttons here. This is the code that governs those buttons. We don't actually have the buttons yet, but we will in a second. We're going to do it right here. We don't have a piece class, we have a player class. Let's just get rid of all of them. There we go. Even better. Which player up there too? Again, we don't need occupied because that's not a thing we're using here. We don't have green and white. So let's just change this very simply to be a mat cell. All mat cells, remove player class. Much simpler. Yeah, save states. We're going to remove all of them when you do reset all. So now we just need to add in those actual buttons. That right there. Yep, change the stage number and everything too. So when I do this, nothing, nothing, but when I do this, aha, changes the stage number. Cool. And we don't have any saves to delete, so fine there. Put it up here so it pushes these guys even further out of the way, yeah. So, yep, and now, yeah, we've got a problem there because the button is actually working now. But we don't have this function yet. Yeah, so yeah, it's not actually going to work yet because we haven't changed all of the details from chess back to what we need yet. There we go. So it is creating the save buttons, and they'll just go on and on and on and on and on. That's nice. I think we're gonna change the default button spacing a little bit. This is a boss after all. I don't know how big is this gonna get when we try to go to. Oh, it just makes the page longer. Well, that's actually okay. And we can go back to this state, or this state, or this state, and reset saves. That's fun. And so yeah, we have a couple of things to fix in here that are different from how chess works. Okay, so the way that this works, first thing, when we click the save button, we remove future saves. Remove future saves depends on the current state. So it'll keep track internally of the current state that we're on every time we press the save button. Right, so it actually increments it based on how long the save states is. And then only at the end do we do that. Okay, so the save states is an array that keeps track of all of these numbered save buttons. So yeah, we create a new button, and that button is going to store inside of it the current state number. So that's based on how many buttons are in that array so far. It's going to look up the current stage up here. Then when we push, then we're going to create a button that has inside it some saved things. So for example, it's going to find the attribute class for all things that are mats and cells. We want to save the tools as well. let's just make it all cells. Yep, do that up there too. So this one says create an array that contains information about all classes that all cells have. And then when you push the button, it's going to then restore those classes based on this saved stuff. This is some magic JavaScript right here that maps the classes into an array, and then you're going to restore all of them to the proper objects on the page based on that saved information when you push the button. So yeah, the button contains within it the information that was true about all of the class information for all of these cells when you push the save button. So we might even actually update the number on the button to not be +1 like that. There we go. Okay, yeah. So now it starts at 0, which is fine, because there is a state 0 on an even stage, including the initial display. So it's in order for an even stage to be the initial display, that would have to be stage 0, because 0 is an even number and 1's not. And we're going to add the flash class to the button as soon as it's created. And then we're going to push the button into this array. Yeah. So we want the buttons to turn blue, the save buttons to turn blue, so that you know which one got replaced. That is very important. So see that? There we go. The button turns blue for about a second and then goes away. It's actually less than a second before it starts transitioning back to white. So that's what this is. It's 100 milliseconds. For a tenth of a second, it stays blue, like pure blue, and then after that it starts to transition back because there's a transition animation period defined right here. It takes one second for the text color and the background color of every button to transition. So as you hover over this, it takes 1 full second for the text to go black to white and the background to go white to black. And similarly, when you press the save, it takes a second for the blue to go to white and the white text to go back to black. So that's working really nicely. Now we have to find out if it actually works or if it just looks like it's working. So let's take a look at this very carefully. Right, so we said we don't want to remove future saves every time you press the save button. So let's just get rid of that for now. So without this, when you go back to this one and then save it again, it just makes another one on the end and it doesn't delete any of them. So still we'll go back to this state. So yeah, what I would want is then I click on this. I might even have to have a separate color for this, like yellow, to let you know that you're looking at that one. And then when you click save, like it flashes blue and then goes back. I don't know, something like that. Okay, so I have figured out how I want to do exactly what I wanted to do. So, yeah, watch this. Save that. Save that. Save that. So now you can see we've got these 3 different states saved. The stage number is incrementing at each one of them automatically when I press save. I'll go back to this one. I'm going to replace this with a foot. And then I'm going to save it. And you notice that it flashed number 1. And we're now at stage 2. So if we look back through the history here, 1, 2 has a foot, and 0 has just a hand, 2 has a hand and a foot, and 2 has the original purple hand because that's what it was like when we saved it. So it only changed this one, and that's exactly what I wanted to do. Now I'm thinking about it, this is going to be a little confusing as to what the save button does when you're going back and clicking on a previous save. And it makes it a little bit troublesome when you want to make a new one because you have to click on the latest one and then click save so that saves that one there, and then the next time you change something, then it'll make a new one. So I don't really like how that works. I think it's going to be way too confusing. So what this does is it saves, it gives the button a unique ID based on an incrementing thing up here, button ID. That is always incrementing and nothing else can change it but this line. So that's always incrementing, and so these are always going to be a unique ID that it gives each of the save buttons. And then it looks up that that save button. When you push the button, it puts the ID of that button into this variable, replace ID. And then if this condition is met, where there's more buttons than there are the number of the current state, it'll replace the button that we pushed the save button we pushed most recently with the new button that we create when you press the save button. So all of this is still going to remain the same. So for the new save button, we're going to make two of them. One of them I think I'm going to gray out unless you've pressed a previous save button. So this one is new save. This one is replace save. So the new save always does that. Clean this up a little bit actually, because we can go like put it there. Okay. That's still going to happen. We could still have a finish save behavior if we wanted to. So that save a little bit of work there. That's going to be identical behavior. Okay. All this other stuff depends on the variables set up in here, so it'll just be easier to do it this way. So yeah, new save will do that. Replace save will do this. New save. Replace save. Now these buttons are going to be way too big, so we're going to try to put a text wrap on them. That would be really nice. Well, heck, that might have been easier to just do that in the first place. We do not need to control the width. Probably don't even need to do that. And they're automatically centered. Cool. So those now do the same thing. We're going to gray out that though. Okay, so I've gotten that to the way I want it now. I've got the replace save button grayed out. This one still active. This one you can't click on. It doesn't hover or anything. And in light mode, same thing. It's all grayed out. So I also have it disabled here, and I will turn that off when I need to. So I added a few things here. I made this stack of buttons here behave a little differently by adding in a wrap and a just left class there, so that the buttons do this as you make new ones. And so wrap is just flex wrap wrap, and just left is justify content left for a horizontal stack, and align items start for a vertical stack. So this one is using that. It's a vertical stack, and this one is now using that. It will justify things to the left. Now I have to programmatically turn off the disabled thing. I had these backwards here. This is new save. This is replace save. So now it works when I tell it to disable, to undisable the replace save button on anytime you press any of the save buttons there. So that lights up. That's nice. I think we're also going to set that back to true anytime you press the new save button. Yeah, because the new save button is going to append a new one. So do this, go here, new save, and it goes back to being disabled. So now it's enabled, now it's disabled. Oh, and we're back to number 2 there. Okay, so if we replace that one, that might fix it, because the new save should always count the buttons and make a new one. Go to here and, oh, change my mind. I want to go here instead. Yep, back to 3, 2, new save 4. We're at stage 3 now. Can reset all saves and reset everything actually. There we go. So we'll go back to this one and, oh, change my mind. New save, please. Or if we do this, new save from there. Yeah, so 0, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, both of these have stage 2 there. So we're pretty close here to having this done exactly the way I wanted it to work. Reset all works. Let's see. Now the good news is that all of these are actually unique because the stage number increments, so I can just generate a bunch of things that have something different in each one. That's nice. So then I want you to do this. Are you sure you want to reset all saves? Yep. And it does that, and it leaves you in the current state, so that's nice. Save. Yep, reset all saves. Yep, and it leaves everything exactly as it is. But if you do this, it should go back. Yep. It doesn't change the highlight tool, but that's probably fine. I don't really need it to go and select that one again. Let's make sure the move tool still works. Yep, cool. All right, reset mat. That's very nice. Clears all the things on the mat. So let's make sure this is working exactly the way I want. Here, save. Here, save. Here, save. Let's go back to this one. Replace that one with a foot. Replace save. And we'll go back to here and we say, okay, we need to go we need to put a new one somewhere. Go. So that worked. We've got 0, 1 now has a foot there. So you'd have to go and change all the future ones anyway. I should go here and replace it. And if I press it again, then there's an error. Okay, yeah, so you got to test these things when you're making a interactive manual. What do you can't read properties of null parent node. Ah, okay. Right. That ID doesn't exist anymore. There's not an element with that ID. Good. So let's just do that. That'll make sure it works. So come back here, increase this a bunch, replace save again and again. Oh, but now it's it's not replacing that one. Okay, that ought to work. So now we've got this, and I want to go back to this one, and I want to replace that one. Just show me what it does. Yep. Replace it again, replace it again, replace it again. Great. And we still have current state 1, and the length is still 3. Cool. So on the replace one, the new buttons are going to have the selected class. So when we go back and say, oh, this one is a mistake, it should have been stage 3, replace save. Oh, it really does need to flash blue. Okay, I'll tell you what we'll do. It's not selected until here where we do button dot add class selected. Now it should not, it should still turn blue because it has the flash class, and then we take away the flash class and add the selected class. So it should go back to being yellow. So, okay, we want to change this thing, replace, it goes blue and then back to yellow. Cool. And then we say, okay, let's go to the latest one, and we'll go like this, and new save. That goes away. Back to here. Oh, this one was wrong. That should have been a stage 1. Place that, please. Thank you. So now we've got 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. And now on to the next one. New save. Yep, it's working exactly the way I would want. Yeah, go ahead and disable the replace save button on reset all. Reset future saves. Nope, that doesn't need to, that does not need to do that. Reset mat. Should reset mat do this? No. You still want to be able to replace a save. Shouldn't change any of the highlighting. So let's see here, do that, save, reset mat. It just deletes all the things on the mat. Very nice. Okay, and save. And we'll go back to this one, reset the mat on that one, and completely redraw it, and replace save, and delete future saves, and save. Cool. I just copied these instructions from the 1D chess thing. I'm going to change them, obviously. I think, seeing this, though, I think I might actually add in some, the ability to increase the stage number somehow. This is a key down event. I know that. Key down, there we go. Yeah. So now we will do increment, whoops. Increment on that one. Decrement on that one. And up here. Okay. Else if k equals stage increment. Great. So yeah, we externalized these so we didn't have to repeat the code. So now this will always do the same thing as clicking the minus and plus. Great. Let's find out. So I'm not going to click anything. I'm going to press the equals or the plus button on my keyboard. Very nice. And the minus does the same thing. And unfortunately, the plus on the number pad doesn't work, but the minus does. So if I can go like this, we might just get lucky. And it might equal plus. Let's find out. It's a string, so it should. Let's see. Okay, and then on the number pad, minus and plus. Yep, awesome. Okay, so we just got to change the description of a few things then. All right, so I added some descriptions down here of the controls. And I think we're done. This is a working Twister Interactive. I will talk to a couple people and see if they have some input on what should change, on how this should work. And otherwise, I will push it onto the repo if the feedback is all good.